Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker, and this past weekend, I spent a lot of time in here. Let's see, Friday I went from Hagerstown to Oakland, Oakland back to Hagerstown. Saturday, Hagerstown to Cumberland, Cumberland to Upper Marlboro, and then Upper Marlboro back to Hagerstown. So that's a grand total of 524 miles in a 19-hour time span with about 5 hours of sleep. So basically what that means is today, if at any point you sense that I'm reaching for a steering wheel or getting ready to put my foot on an accelerator or just plain ready to doze off, no, scratch that one. This is Inside Sports. We don't sleep on Inside Sports, although there was a promo to start the season where I was sleeping. Anyway, forget all of that. Coming up today, we've got lots on the show. I'm going to show you everything that I went out and collected over the weekend. Video from 3 boys basketball games and the state wrestling championships. Plus, before we're through, Herald Mail insiders Kevin Dunleavy and Bob Parsaliti will join me to talk about why state championships in basketball just don't seem to come back to this county. So we'll discuss that a little bit before the show's over, but we'll start with state wrestling. We'll go to the mats at Upper Marlboro, and Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason will join me. When you come back, catch us on the inside, literally and figuratively. How about that?
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
I saw what Dr. Eklund was doing, and I was pretty confident he could help me. I had 20 teeth extracted and 20 implants placed in the same day. I'm extremely happy with the results. I feel great. You forget the confidence, how you eat, how you smile. It's been amazing, and I'm confident that he would do wonders for them as well.
Here at Potomac Dental Center, it's more than just teeth. We give people back their lives.
Welcome back to the show. We start this week with wrestling. State champions have been determined, and Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason joins me to talk about what went down Saturday at Showplace Arena. Andy, and let's start first with what turns out to be our lone state champion in Aaron Brooks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he did what we expected him to do. He just went out there and he dominated, pinned all 4 of his opponents. First 2 in the first round quarterfinals. That was 71 seconds total. I think 37 seconds first round, 34 seconds quarterfinals. In the semifinals, he faces Tristan Breed from Huntingtown, who came in undefeated, a great wrestler. Aaron builds an 11-2 lead on him, pins him in the second period. Then in the final, he gets Max Sotka from Glenelg, a guy with another terrific record, stud wrestler. Aaron's up 9-1, pins him in the second period. You know, just total domination. He finishes the season 47-0. And what I find interesting, only 4 of his matches all year went past the first period. Yeah. And those resulted in pins in the state semis and finals. And only 1 went the distance, and that was against Logan McCoy from Oakdale. And that's a kid Brooks dominated 15-2, and Logan McCoy was the state champion at 170 pounds. And if you go 1 weight class down at 152 pounds, there's Jake Nielsen from Urbana. And that's the kid Brooks faced in the Hub Cup final. And I think that one was over in about 50 seconds. So, I mean, he's, you know, he just total dominant force.
A 3-time state champion. Now, where does this put him in Washington County history at the moment in your eyes?
Well, I think he's number 1. I mean, his record, 135-2. You know, another season like this, he's going to be a 4-time state champ. No one in the county's ever done that. He already has, for anyone who's won over 100 matches, and there are quite a few, no one has a higher winning percentage than him. All-time record for wins is 149-6, set by North's Brendan Colbert a few years ago. He's already, you know, in December next year, he's going to match that. Only two wrestlers in county history have ever won 3 titles. Steve Shiflett from Smithsburg and Chris Kretzinger from Smithsburg ages ago. Yeah. Now he's one of 3. And, you know, I can't imagine if he stays healthy, he's going to win 4. I mean, there's no one even close to him.
Yeah, very elite company, no question
He's
about
one of the
that.
best wrestlers in the country, and we just have to have him right here in
Yeah,
Washington County.
Very fortunate, and just an awesome season overall for Aaron Brooks. Congratulations to him. The other guy from North Hagerstown that we thought we'd be talking about as a state champion this week, things just didn't go his way. Brian Stewart at 126 had to battle a lot more than he's had to battle this season. And getting into that final bout against Earl Blake, the same guy that he saw at Regions, 4th time he had wrestled him. The 4th time turned out to be the charm for Blake.
Yeah, well, last year, Stewart beats Blake 15-6 for the region title, 8-1 for the state title. And then this year, for the region title, they meet again. Stewart again, 15-6, dominates. However, in that match, he sprains his ankle, and I think it was pretty severe because he wasn't even able to walk the next day or two. He was limping around the arena all weekend. He had to fight hard just to get into the final. You know, we're used to him dominating. He didn't dominate. He pinned his first-round kid, but he won 4-3 in the quarters against the kid we'd expect him to dominate. Semis, he has to go to overtime, survives that, wins 16-14. Another closer match than he's used to. And then in the final, he has to face Blake again. And you gotta know Blake wants this badly. This is his opportunity, and he took advantage of it and won 10-9 in overtime. I mean, it was just a fantastic match. But we thought Stewart was going to get it. I mean, you know, he's up 4-1 in the first period, 6-3 in the second period, and then midway through the third period, he's up 8-4. It looks like that third title's right there for him.
Yeah, up by 4 points, 46 seconds to go.
Blake did not give up.
Yeah.
And, you know, Blake, you know, he was fit. You know, his fitness level, he might not be as strong as Stewart. He might not be as good a wrestler as Stewart, but his fitness level was higher, and we saw that.
Yeah, huge upset. Brian Stewart's only loss of the year coming in that bout. So he's state runner-up at 126. Meantime, at 106, 2A, 1A, Shane Havermail of Smithsburg had a state title potentially in his hands, just could not hold on at the end.
Yeah, well, he was facing a real tough kid. But yes, Shane Havermail had an excellent season, came into the state final with only 1 loss. That 1 loss was to a kid from Bel Air who won a state title in 4A, 3A Saturday night. Tons of pins this year, pinned his way, first 3 opponents, but he faces Daquan Anderson, a senior. You know, Havermail's just a sophomore. He faces Daquan Anderson, a senior from Oakdale who was the state runner-up last year. And at the end, Anderson just had a little bit more. However, Havermail was up. You know, in the third period, he's leading at one point 5-4.
Right.
Ends up getting tied 6-6, and, you know, the last 15 seconds, Anderson gets the takedown near fall, 11-6 final, and it's over. You know, I'm sure Havermail's heartbroken, but just for him to get to that state final is a huge accomplishment. He's got 2 years left. Yeah. 5th as a freshman, 2nd as a sophomore. I think we'll see a state title from him eventually. Yeah,
congratulations to all 3 of those guys and our other state place winners, Tristan Cook from Boonesboro, Caleb Corbin from North Hagerstown, and Sean King Pombo from South Hagerstown. So that wraps up wrestling, everything that has transpired on the mats. All we have left are the awards to hand out. That'll be next week. Andy, I'll see you then.
Yep, see you then, Wes. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for being here this week. I'm back right after this. Bob Parsolini joins me for girls playoff basketball in just a moment.
When it comes to hearing loss, who will be taking care of you? Audiologist Dr. Karen Hamilton is Hagerstown's hearing doctor, working to improve the quality of life for those with hearing loss. At Audiology Services, Dr. Hamilton focuses on evaluation and diagnosis to provide solutions for treating hearing loss. Using the latest technology, she programs hearing aids to meet your unique needs and ensures they fit properly and comfortably. Audiology Services participates with most insurance companies and will check benefits and file claims on your behalf. Dr. Hamilton and her team also serve the community through Hagerstown Hearing, which focuses on providing crystal clear sound in places such as theaters, churches, offices, and homes. Hagerstown Hearing installs looping systems that allows those with hearing loss to enjoy speech clarity and noise reduction, providing an experience like never before. To learn more about Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, call 301-790-3300. Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, providing crystal clear sound.
Welcome back to the show. We continue with basketball now, girls playoff basketball. When we last left you, Smithsburg and Boonesboro were ready to go head-to-head in the 1A West Section 2 final. Bob Parsoliti joins me now to talk about that. And Bob, round 3, just like rounds 1 and 2, going to Smithsburg, and this one very decisively, 68-43.
It was a game that I think in the first quarter, Boonesboro probably spent itself. They played very hard. Both teams were playing really hard defensively. I think Boonesboro was really trying to take and set the tone of the game, kind of like the way they ended the last meeting when they closed to within 3 points and lost. I think they were trying to do that early, and they trailed by 3 at the end of the first quarter. They were actually down 17-16 and gave up a basket at the end of the quarter to make it 19-16. And then Smithsburg came out and ran off like the next 11 points, and that was basically the ball game. It was just that it seemed like Boonesboro got a little bit tired, and it just kind of fell apart from there.
Yeah, it was Smithsburg's pace all the way, but Boonesboro was able to keep up in that first quarter, as you said, and then all of a sudden, Smithsburg at halftime has 40 points on the scoreboard, and they go on to score 68 and move on to the region final then at Southern Garrett on Friday night. And Smithsburg going in there in the early going, just trying to stay with Southern Garrett a little bit, and it was Haley Bechtel's hot shooting early that had Smithsburg right in that game. 4 threes in the first half for Bechtel, and Smithsburg went through some spells, though, where they just couldn't put the ball in the basket, and that would sort of be a recurring theme as the game went along, particularly in the second half.
Well, the two things I thought about when they hit those periods were, number one, Chip Bechtel, Smithsburg's coach, always said that there's one part in the game that we always have a bad shooting slump. There was the first, at least one of them. The second part was, it seemed like, not that they were tired, but it was the same thing that happened to Boonesboro was happening to Smithsburg against Southern Garrett.
Yeah, it was almost as if the tables had turned there, because the game was tied at 16, and then in the second quarter, Smithsburg went one of those spells that I talked about, 8 straight shots they were unable to put in the basket. And at halftime, they were still hanging in there, though. It was 26-21, and then Smithsburg opens the second half by scoring the first 4 points, and they should have had the first 6, and they should have been up 27-26, but there was a traveling call against Morgan Henderson where she used a Euro step. It was not a travel.
Yeah.
But the officials called it a travel. 6:02 to go in the third quarter. After that, Southern Garrett goes on an 18-2 run, and by the time Smithsburg scored again, 5 minutes and 17 seconds had gone by, and the next basket for them, their next field goal, came seconds into the fourth quarter, and the game was essentially over.
Well, and that was it. They just, and it got to the point where whatever they did, Southern Garrett had the answer. Southern Garrett didn't shoot the ball well early, but in the second half, after they got into the game, into their way of playing, they were a great shooting team. And I think the biggest thing they did was handled that pressure that Smithsburg lives off of, because it didn't bother them. I mean, there was very, very few turnovers off of the helter-skelter pace that Smithsburg tried to set. And Southern Garrett just kind of controlled it and took the game away from them.
And I think that is the underlying undoing for Smithsburg this season, is that when they can't score in transition, they just can't score in the half court. Because in their 6 losses this season, they averaged just under 37 points per game. They scored just 37 against Southern Garrett, lose 61-37. In their 19 wins, they averaged almost 63 points per game. So clearly they were able to speed things up by taking the ball away, turning defense into offense. But Southern Garrett, a team that was immune to that, and again, had a pretty good pedigree coming into that, having won the last 4 region titles.
Well, the other thing that Smithsburg did was they called off the press when it wasn't working, went to the 2-3 zone, and that really, Southern Garrett was able to get foul line jumpers and penetrate into the key and get short jumpers and hit them. They were a very good shooting team, and unlike anything that Smithsburg, I think, had seen during the regular season.
Yeah, Smithsburg outscored 35-16 in the second half as the Leopards season comes to an end. And Southern Garrett, just a very fundamental team, and that proved to be the difference in that game in Oakland on Friday night. Well, that wraps up girls basketball. We've got nothing but the awards to hand out. We'll do that next week. Bob, stick around though. You'll be coming back here in just a little bit. We're going to discuss just why it is so difficult for the county to bring state championships back here. Kevin Dunleavy and Bob Parsolini will be here for that. Kevin's here next. We'll wrap up what happened with the boys in just a moment.
Tony's Pizza in Williamsport has had the same simple philosophy since 1985. Start with simple products. Sauce from the best Italian tomatoes. The best cheese and dough made fresh every day. Then mix those with a great atmosphere, and you'll have the best dining experience you can find. Tony's is known for their pasta dishes, subs, pizzas, and specialty items like their Nutella Dots and the famous Crazy Tony. Simply put, they want to give the best food they can give to their customers. So stop in today to Tony's Pizza in Williamsport.
Life's expensive. You've got your home, your car, maybe a family, and now you're thinking about earning your degree. At Kaplan University, we get it. When it comes to the cost of your education, every bit helps. That's why we created Tuition Cap. It's a program that sets the maximum amount you'll pay for college. Once you meet the cap, the rest of your degree is free. That's right, free. That adds up to a 33% savings off the full tuition. It's all part of our promise to make college more affordable. Learn how you can save with Kaplan University's Tuition Cap program at 1-866-KAPLAN-4.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, boys playoff basketball. Now joining me for that, Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy. And Kevin, what a game last Thursday night at Clear Spring, Boonesboro and Clear Spring for the section championship. Goes right down to the final shot. Two teams couldn't get too far away from each other all night long. It was just a tremendous playoff basketball game.
Yeah, and there's something about the Clear Spring gym that makes it cooler. There's something about the small gym. It's really loud, and the intensity was really high that night. Two teams that played so much better late in the year than they did early in the year. They came a long way, both of them.
And just a game again that if you were to script it out, you'd want it to come down to the very end the way that it did. But along the way, I think in the second half of that game, Cade Price's shooting for Boonesboro was huge. Early in the game, aside from making a bucket off the opening tip, his outside shooting wasn't there. 3 threes in the second half, very big for Boonesboro. For Clear Spring, you've got Connor Michael, a double-double, 21 points, 17 rebounds. Michael Myers, a double-double. He scores 16 points, had 10 boards. But then, is there a guttier kid than Jarrett Lozich, who had missed essentially the entire season? This was only his 5th game back, and there wasn't a three-pointer that he wasn't willing to take and make at the end of that game for Clear Spring.
Yeah, he had 8 points in the last 4 minutes, and it looked like the one that he tied it up with 50 seconds left on one that they had to have because they were down by 3, and that looked like it might carry the momentum of that might carry them into the overtime and be the game winner, but then Tyjon Hanna just answered with stuff that he's been doing all year. I mean, that kid's been fantastic.
It's amazing to me just how smooth and steady he is. He never looks like he gets rattled at all. And he scored 15 of Boonesboro's 18 points in the fourth quarter, including the buzzer-beating game winner.
Yeah, he has a big city game, and he's not rattled at all by the atmosphere, a lot of big games he played this year, and he was at his best in the big games. They beat Williamsport twice, and he talked about after one of the games, not necessarily Williamsport, but answering cat calls from fans and stuff, trying to get under his skin, and that only made him better.
Yeah, I think it really fuels his fire. 29 of the 58 points that Boonesboro scored in the 58-55 win came from Hanna. So Boonesboro moved on to Saturday at Allegheny. Region championship on the line, chance to go to the Final Four in 1A, and Allegheny comes out shooting the lights out, up 23-11 at the end of the first quarter. But Hanna and company come back in that game. Boonesboro was down 44-31 with 2:22 left in the third quarter, and then they went on a 14-4 run over the next 5 minutes and 47 seconds to pull within 48-45 on a Bryce Rogers 3. But then Allegheny would score the next 6 points to go back up 54-45 with 2:55 left, and that was basically it. But Allegheny, 16 of 26 from the free throw line. Boonesboro 1 for 4, and Kevin, Boonesboro's game is to get to the line because, of all people, Tyjon Hanna is money from the free throw stripe.
Yeah, I wish I had seen the game, but from what I hear, it was a really tough deal from officials-wise, and that's what you get when you go on the road. You're going to get the home officials, and that was a tough thing for them to overcome. And Tyshawn Hanna shot 20 free throws in one game against Williamsport. He is great at getting to the line, but it just didn't happen in that game. And I was surprised they stayed as close as they did for him for as long as they did, given that kind of disparity.
Well, with 5.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, fouls committed at that point. In the second half, 8 by Boonesboro, 0 by Allegheny, if that tells you anything. 66-51, Allegheny eliminates Boonesboro. Now, over in 2A West, Section 1, Williamsport winning in the section final, and pretty handily at Mountain Ridge, a very impressive win by a score of 64-38, the third fewest points that Williamsport had allowed in a game all season. And when it comes to the postseason, you know that playing defense will really carry you. So it seemed like that would bode very well then heading into the region championship. But Williamsport ran into a team, they had to go on the road, a team that was hot and healthy in Century. And Century is looking for a little revenge for an earlier season defeat at the hands of Williamsport. And the Knights keep on rolling.
Yeah, Williamsport did bring their defense. They played very well against the Carroll County scoring leader, a kid named Zach Tucker, who struggled a little bit in the first half, but they were just a better team with the ball. They shot it better, they passed it better, they dribbled it better. 19-5 was the turnover difference, and that just killed Williamsport. And Williamsport could hang with them definitely on the boards and defensively, and that's always there for them. Ryan Grable does a great job getting his team pumped up and ready to do those things. But after the game, he was exasperated because the offense just comes and goes with his team. His offense has to be generated from turnovers, and they got very few easy baskets that way.
Well, you mentioned the Boonesboro and Williamsport games from earlier in the season when you were talking about Tyshawn Hanna, and I think this was a prime example of sort of hearkening back to that for Williamsport, because those were games where the Wildcats missed a lot of easy shots, and evidently that was the case against Century too, leaving a lot of points off the board. They rely on Jake Arnone, who scores 21 of their 48 in that game, and the final score 64-48. So that wraps up Washington County Public School basketball for the season. Kevin, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll talk some more about the postseason and why state titles just don't seem to come Washington County's way. Back with Kevin and Bob in just a moment.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny, to shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
I saw what Dr. Eklund was doing, and I was pretty confident he could help me. I had 20 teeth extracted and 20 implants placed in the same day. I'm extremely happy with the results. I feel great. You forget the confidence, how you eat, how you smile. It's been amazing, and I'm confident that he would do wonders for them as well.
Here at Potomac Dental Center, it's more than just teeth. We give people back their lives.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, and we just talked about how March gladness basically quickly turned to March sadness for our teams between winning section finals and then going to play for region championships. And Bob and Kevin rejoin me now. And guys, it's just been so long since we've had a state champion from Washington County. For the girls, Bob, it's been since 1992 when Williamsport won. What is it, do you think, in your mind, that is preventing Washington County from bringing a title back here? Because we've had numerous teams go, but we haven't had any titles come back.
I don't think there's really one reason, but I think there's a lot of little reasons that bleed into it. Number one is I don't think there's what I would call the alpha player in any of the girls' teams recently, where there's one girl that just takes total control, say like a Tyshawn Hanna has done for the boys in places. So there's not a lot of points coming somewhere from a girls player that can dominate a game. I mean, if you look at we had 7 teams from public schools this year. Out of the 7, only 2 had winning records, and out of those 2 teams, only one girl had over 10 points a game average. So I mean, there's a lot of things there, and if you're going to go and win a state title, you got to do a lot of things right if you don't have a lot of scoring.
No, that's an excellent point. And Kevin, on the boys' side, I mean, the drought is now 43 years for Washington County, and I know you haven't been covering Washington County basketball for a long time, but you've certainly gleaned some insight into the boys. What's your feeling with what Washington County would need to do to get over that hump now that has really become a mountain?
I don't see any programs that are, when you look at the 2 teams that eliminated Washington County teams this past weekend, Allegheny and Century. Century's had 10 straight winning seasons. 5 of those years they won 20 games. Allegheny perennially, they've won or been to the region final 10 of 14 years and won 8 of those or 7 of those. So Washington County doesn't have that program. Aside from Williamsport, I think they're getting to that point where they're competing every year. And you know that they're going to be good regardless of what the talent level is. That's the only team that's really at that level. And I think in the girls' side, the Williamsport girls are the only ones that are sort of at that level as well, with the 2 great coaches leading the program. But, you don't see that anywhere else in the county, teams that consistently have winning records.
And that's a key word right there, I think, program, not just teams, but programs. And Bob, how do the classification breakdowns and the schedules work into this?
Well, I think if you look at like North and South in 3A, there's not another team around here. This is predominantly a 1A county. I mean, anything from here west is 1A. I mean, so there's not a lot of 3A teams for North and South to play. They have to go travel somewhere. And with the rule that they have to play against the teams in the county, and they got 12 games there, and then they search around for stuff. They don't get a lot of experience about the teams down the road. And the further it seems, the closer you get to Baltimore and DC, these teams really play well and have a lot of talent to choose from. The other side of the coin is on the 1A level. You're looking at least from the girls, I can say this is. You fill a team, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all basketball players. They don't all have the same skill set. And a lot of the teams that I see, especially on 1A, where they don't have a lot of girls to choose from because of the size of the schools, there's girls that play but don't have the skill set. And what happens is there's a lot of turnovers and things because they can't handle the ball. And, we talked about Southern Garrett earlier. They could handle the ball.
Yeah, it's a big difference, and obviously it's a big help in getting your team to go as far as they can possibly go, because the competition only ramps up as you get into the postseason. And Kevin, for the boys, since Smithsburg went back in 2012, and of course last year we had Clear Spring going to a state championship game in 1A, Washington County has sent 22 teams to the state Final Four since we last had South Hagerstown win a state championship way back in 1974. So, what will it take beyond what we've talked about here? I mean, is there? We've had some long tenured coaches in boys basketball here. We've had some turnover with. I mean, what's it going to do? What kind of cohesion do we need, do you think, to establish a program beyond the one that you're talking about in Williamsport, in the way that you view it, that could help Washington County get back to that pinnacle?
You've got to challenge yourself throughout the season with really tough schedule. Kevin Naylor at South Hagerstown does this. He plays as many Frederick County teams as he can. There are ways to get your team prepared for elite competition, and then there are ways not, and that the way not to is to just schedule the county teams, and you've got to go out and try to get the toughest games possible. That, in my view.
And I think the brand new league is going to help a little bit, but again, it's really up to the teams to challenge themselves big time first and foremost, because if you want to win a state championship, obviously, again, as we talked about, the competition is going to get so much greater as it goes on. I think we could talk about this for several shows, but we're pretty much out of time today. Next week on the show, we've got awards to hand out for the winter sports season. We hope you'll join us then. Bob, Kevin, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. See you then on the inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.